What's going on, guys? Welcome to one of my most anticipated videos yet. This is going to be making a Hackintosh out of this PowerMac G5 case. I have a teaser video which you can watch here, as well as an unboxing of this case which you can watch here. Now, a few questions I've been getting about this case. I got it for $90 off eBay. The case was pre-modded. In case you don't know, most modern motherboards today are ATX or micro ATX or just, some form of ATX motherboard, which this guy will not house by default. So what you essentially have to do is take out the entire back, or some people just go crazy and they end up not doing any cutting, but that takes hours and hours of work and you really have to know your way around some wires and stuff like that. However, basically what you end up doing is taking out the whole back. So you can see these thumb screws and everything, these should not be here. As you can see, the mesh, this is not mesh, this should not be here. This is a motherboard tray that you can buy. It's about, I think about $49.99, about 50 bucks. Go ahead and check out the link below in the description. Now, I did not I did not modify this case, rather I bought it pre-modded, like I said, off eBay. So I did not do the cutting here, this came as it is. And honestly, like I said, I got it for $90, which is a great deal. So please don't ask me, where I got this, because honestly, this was pure luck that I found this. This is very rare that you find someone that's already done the hard part for you. But essentially what I'm going to be doing is taking the parts out of this case here, which is a Cooler Master CM692 Advanced. So as you guys can see, my motherboard is still in there. I've taken all my other components out, which you can see here, and that was just to save time. I figured that would probably double the length of the video, and this video is probably going to be really long as it is. So here's the components I'm going to be swapping out. I'm not going to go through and label and list all of them. So you can go to my channel page. All my specs for all these parts are listed on my channel page. So let's give you guys a quick little pan around there. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and take the side panel off of the G5 case. And in order to do that, have a little lever. And now this whole side panel will come right off. And off comes the side. And now you can see what we have to work with. The motherboard will house upside down, and you guys will see everything from start to finish. But as you can see, it's been modified to have a hard drive cage here. I'll be using 3 hard drives, as you saw over there, as well as my power supply will be mounted in the bottom, optical drive bay, obviously motherboard, and I do have another fan that I'll be putting in here, and you guys will see all that. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to take out a motherboard out of a case. In case you guys are new to this, you don't know how to do that, I will show you. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so here's the Gigabyte motherboard. Now, in case you don't know, this is an ATX motherboard, and in every ATX motherboard, there's 9 screws you have to take out, which actually screw into the case. It's like 3, 3, and 3. So I'll try to zoom into this for you guys. I've taken 8 of the 9 out already, like I said earlier, just to save time. But there's 1 right here. 2 is right here. 3 is over here somewhere, and etc., spread throughout. But the one I haven't removed is right there. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove that for you guys. And all you need for this is just, a standard Phillips head screwdriver. So we're going to take this out. Not very hard, sorry for the arm cam, it's just the best way to grab the screw. And we'll go ahead and set that off aside. And now the motherboard has no more screws left in it. So removing the motherboard once the screws are out is pretty easy, you just grab it. Nothing, rocket science. Just be very careful with it. I'm just going to be leaving, like I said, the CPU cooler just going to stay on. I'm not removing the RAM. There's really no need for that. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this in this case. And now before I put the motherboard in here, I have the front I/O shield right here. This goes and protects your ports from the outside world. So in case you've never done this before, it's a fairly simple process. You just sort of line it up and just push it against the side of the case. Make sure that it's nice and secure. Now once it's flush around all the edges, you're good to go. Now I'm going to take my motherboard, and being very careful with it, I'm going to house it in. And now this shelf up here, right here, does make it sort of complicated, sort of a pain to get in, but it's nothing too bad. Just as long as you're careful, you should be okay. Now I'm going to leave it here just like this for a second. You can see these little stubs here. Those are where you actually screw the motherboard into the motherboard, so you have to line your motherboard up with all of those. Now, I do not recommend this, but it can be done as long as you support the motherboard. I'm going to grab my motherboard by the CPU cooler, but like I said, I will be supporting it with this hand. Just make sure you just reduce the tension as much as you can to 0 on the CPU cooler. So up she goes, and being very careful, just sort of try your best to fit it in with the I/O shield up here. And now once you've lined up your motherboard with the I/O shield, I'm going to start putting these screws back in. So just go ahead and make sure all your holes are lined up and just start putting all your screws in. So now that the motherboard's housed, ready to go, all the screws are in, I'm going to put my second 80mm case fan in. I got these off of Newegg. Both I got this one and this one for $4.50 shipped. So that's a great deal for two fans. And they are 80mm, but don't be fooled, they move a ton of air. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in now. I'm just going to go and slide this in. And in case you've never put a case fan in before, it's as simple as screwing in 4 screws. So go ahead and line these up. And I'm going to go and get the first one started. And screw this in. Not very hard, just make sure you hold it against the fan against the case. And you really shouldn't have a problem. I think anyone can do this. It's really nothing, NASA, rocket science based, So both fans are in, and as long as the computer's laying flat like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my graphics card and my ASM 1061 SATA controller in. PCI is just, I think, easier to install while the computer's flat. Alright, so here's my graphics card. And this is as simple as just, installing it like a normal graphics card. There's really nothing crazy here, even though it is, a G5 case. So we'll just line this up. And hopefully I'm not blocking the shot completely. And you heard that very satisfying click. We now have the card installed, but before I go any farther, I have 2 screws here that I will use to secure the card. So the graphics card and the SATA controller are in. You guys didn't see the SATA controller because I honestly just could not get a good shot with the tripod I'm using and the angle of the desk and everything. So I'm going to tip this up so you guys can see it a little better. So hopefully you'll be able to see it a little better now. There's my graphics card. And right above that is my SATA controller. So not too much to see there, but I just want to make sure that you guys knew that it was inside of the case. So what I've now done is I've taken my bottom 80mm fan and I've plugged it into the header on the motherboard. As you can see right there, the reason I didn't get this on camera was because honestly it was quite a PITA, and because of my CPU cooler and that RAM and being able to get my hand back there, it was a huge pain, and so I didn't really want to make a fool of myself, so I just took the liberty of installing it to the motherboard and just showing you guys the aftermath. But the top one, my top 80mm, will not be as bad, so I will show myself putting that one on the motherboard right now, as a matter of fact. So here we go with the top 80mm fan. As you can see, there's a little pin on the motherboard back here somewhere, right around there, that white one. So you can see it says System Fan 2. That's where this 80mm fan will be plugging into, and I'll show you why right now. So as I'm sure you guys can tell, this case wasn't really designed to have a cable management system. Apple really did that for you. You weren't meant to, get in here and rip the motherboard out and stuff like that. So they really didn't design any cable management. So you just really have to do the best you can when doing a G5 mod or a Mac Pro mod or anything like that. So basically what I'm going to be doing is taking this cable, and there's a little gap, you can't see it with the shot, but there's a little gap between like this part here and this little shelf, and so I'll be using that to sort of hide this cable as good as I can, and from there I'll just plug it in back there. So what I'm going to do right now is take this, and you guys will be able to see that it comes up through the top right there. And now once I pull this tight, now that's much better managed. You really can't see that cable. The only time you'll see it obviously is up here plugging into that. But it does make it a lot nicer to have a little cable here than a big cable like somewhere around here. Alright, so you can see where it says System Fan 2. Here's the fan. I'm going to go ahead and plug it right into the spot on the motherboard. Make sure it's in all the way. And there you go. Moving on, we now have the hard drives I'm going to be putting in. Now this, like I said, this is a custom hard drive mount. This is drilled into the top. If I wanted to, I do have another one that I could drill into this, so I can have up to 6 hard drives in here, which is nice. I will not be using that many though. For now, I have 3. I plan on upgrading to 4 and it's sometime in the near future, but for now, 3 will be fine. So I have my 60GB OCZ Agility 3 solid state. I have my 500GB, I believe it's a Seagate. Yes, Seagate. This is for backups, stuff like that, for Final Cut Pro projects and such. And here's my 1TB Western Digital. This is where all my music, all my videos, and everything like that goes. So how these work is you have the screw in the hard drive. I do have a 2.5 to 3.5 inch hard drive converter for my solid state. But basically, you have these little things here, like these, I don't know, sliders, I guess you could call them. There's little tracks here that these screws will go on. So you simply line up the tracks, push it back, And now that it's in, to secure it, you just fold up the little sliders, and now that hard drive is not going anywhere. And one more time close up, here's the hard drive. Here's those little tracks, hopefully you guys can see that. Just make sure it's in straight. Slide it all the way back. Fold up the sliders. And your hard drive is now secured. One more time with the last hard drive. Make sure they're on the tracks, slide it all the way back, move the slider up, and now you are good to go. And you might be asking yourself why I put them in upside down. That's just the way the tracks work. And also because of my solid state, the converter raises it up, so they would hit if I did it any other way. So they are in upside down, but it's not really a big deal to me. As long as it can read my data, I'm fine with that.